Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of MPJ New Rock Album Review Show. I am with Lauren and Trish. Welcome back, everybody. Oh, sorry, not Trish. Chris, even. Welcome, gang. How are you?
It's slightly confused at this point.
Well,
Chris is having an identity crisis.
We all know you're confused. We all know this. So, Atreyu are back. So this is chapter 1. This is part 1. So we have two different opposing people who like different things. And so I always put in an album that both elements will review. And this month, Atreyu are back. So now Atreyu, with the album The End Is Not the End, is a follow-up to The Beautiful Dark, which got a massive 4.3. It actually made it in 2024 our top 20 albums, and finished 19th. It was rated 19th because. And the reason I've split this is because it is very much that kind of merger between metalcore and clean vocals, and the last time it was a bit shocked because Ian, who was on the podcast at the time, give it like this is Ian, right? This was Ian back in the day. Give this like a 4.5, and I'm going like, and I'm there going like, but it's just metalcore. What's the attraction? And I was left dumbfounded, really, if I'm brutally honest, as to what was so special about this band. And so I wanted to kind of cross over across both kind of floors, if you like, and see what overall, whether the more clean vocal of us actually attracted to this kind of album as well. So, Lauren, let's start with you, shall we, on this one?
Yeah, so this is like my first time. I think I may have listened to Atreyu before, but it is one of those things where it would have been like in the mix of when your playlist has finished and you just get stuff thrown at you, where it's like, oh, I think you'd like this, and all that sort of stuff. For me, I enjoyed it. I thought it had great production to it that gave some like real epic vibes for me that I really enjoyed. Loved the clean vocalist on it. Absolutely loved that. Really liked his voice. The dirty vocal, I was so on, just because at times for me it felt quite strained in a way that sort of like, if we look at other artists that have done dirty vocals for stuff, such as your good old Chester from Lincoln, all this other stuff, had those elements where it's felt raw, but not in a way that's strained. It still has that level of control behind it where there's the anger, but it doesn't feel like any second his voice is going to crack and give out. It still had that power behind it, whereas this for me was just missing that a little bit. It is one of those where it felt a bit mishmashed in places too for me, where some of it didn't quite flow. So overall, it was another cherry picker for me, where it didn't set my world on fire and stuff like that. But there were tracks on it that I really enjoyed, like Afterglow. For me, that was a heavy lifter on the album. I really enjoyed that. And then like All For You towards the start of the album gave me the vibes of like Nothing More and the stuff they put out, especially from their last album, which I absolutely adored. I really loved that album. And and that was one of the ones where before I was on the show, I said to Trish, oh, if you guys haven't listened to this, then maybe you should. And she went, oh yeah, it's on the list. And so I was very excited because then by the time I was on the show, it was in the end of the year. Stuff like that and sounds like that I really enjoyed. But yeah, it was just one of those where it was quite a heavy cherry picker for me. So yeah, but I'm intrigued to now go and listen to more of their back catalogue and see what other stuff I can pull out of it. Because yeah, some of it hits really hard for me and I really like that.
Suffice to say that Paul despised the album, absolutely hated it, didn't like it whatsoever. Andy Dicker, surprisingly, was somewhere kind of in the middle of the road, really, from his perspective. And before I finish with Chris, I'm going to say that for me, this is one of the type of album that I hate the most. All right, and I hate the most because I love half of it and hate the rest of it. Right? Okay, I mean, because like, like for example, with In the Dark, which hit my cool playlist, which is all clean vocals, is utterly exceptional. In terms of my taste and what I like about music and that heavy kind of melodic rock, it's exceptional. It's a beautiful, beautiful track, and there's not hardly, if any, metalcore in it at all. And so I love and both hate this, light and dark. And I get highly, and the reason I hate this album is because I get highly frustrated because I wait and go, oh, maybe it's another clean vocal track, and then it's not, and then I just go, and then I get halfway through, I just skip it. And so kind of that's kind of how that kind of feel about it. Lauren, what did Trish think?
So, Trish. Overall, for Trish, I'm turning that way so I can actually read it properly. Overall, for her, the end is not the end feels like a band experimenting with a heavier identity. For her, it doesn't quite capture the same magic that she found in The Beautiful Dark of Life, but it's far from a miss for her. So, much like some of the other albums, it looks like it was a case of, yeah, it's all right, but in context, it's... There's enough there to keep her coming back, even if it feels like a bit of a step down from what she knows they can be capable of.
So I've left Chris to last, and you'll discover why, because we'll drill into this a little bit more. Chris, you're not a metalcore fan. It's obvious to say that you are not a metalcore fan. What do you think of Atreyu?
So yeah, let's get that bit out of the way first. I'm not usually a metalcore fan, and we've had discussions in the past on various different albums as we've gone through. There is a balance, I think, with some. So as Laura mentioned, Linkin Park perfected that balance. I loved Linkin Park right from the first time I heard the opening bars of Hybrid Theory and Chester Bennington. Jesus, yeah. So there is a place for it. But I'm not a fan of sort of the unclean vocals, the metalcore, the impenetrable growlo stuff. It just leaves me cold. And it takes something special for me to keep listening when I hear an album start with that sort of stuff. It's just kind of, it's just the sort of the irony, oh, here we go again. Atreyu have that something special. It's been bucket loads. I love this album. It was brilliant. There is the problem, as is usually the case, that when you get the growler coming in, you do sort of go, oh, really? Okay, fine. But when Brandon Saller starts singing, oh my God, I love his voice. It's brilliant. There's very few vocalists that I pay attention to enough to remember their names. Chris Porter is one of them, partly because his name is stamped all over the album, so it's really kind of difficult not to. But Brandon Saller, such a great voice. I can't quite put my finger on what I like about it so much. It almost feels like there's almost a duality. It's almost like two people are singing at once, just the tone of his voice layered over the music and the way. That puts me in such a good place listening to that I can accept all of the other growler get in there because it's building up to, quite literally, it does it all for me. It's great. I really like his lyrics, his style of singing, the way that he does it. It's kind of like, Dave Draymond with Disturbed as well. It's just because Disturbed has another one of those ones where there's a definite example of how you balance the sort of the heavier the growler with clean lyrics. And he's one of a few lyricists that I really enjoy. And it possibly might help that I really liked The Beautiful Dark of Life, and we went to go see them in Portsmouth. And it was a brilliant show. All of that might come into it too. But I came into Atreyu expecting something great, and I got it. So, yeah, I was really, really happy with this. There's a featurette with Max Cavalera, I think it's Children of Light, which was really fast and slightly different in terms of adding a bit more variety to the album as well. That really worked. Again, a lot of the heavier stuff in that track, but enough there with Brandon Saller's lyrics to really bring it home. So yeah, I really enjoyed this in a way that I wasn't necessarily. I tried to listen to Atreyu back when I was sort of, maturing through my teenage and into my my university phase, and at that point I didn't quite get it. It didn't quite sit for me because it was heavier lyrics at the time. Brandon Saller has become the lead singer and the lead vocalist since sort of 2019, 2020. I don't know whether that was a specific COVID thing or just happened to be the way the band went. But since 2020, and especially the last two albums, I'm really happy with Atreyu at the minute. I think I'm a fan. Maybe a little bit.
And the reason I left you to last because we've been kind of a similar view on metalcore, and there are elements of metalcore that I enjoy when it accentuates the clean vocal. So you have predominantly the most of the track is 80% and above clean vocals, and then you have maybe maximum of my limit is 15-20% of which where I think particularly Linkin Park and their recent album kind of did, where the metalcore is really supporting the clean vocals. But with Atreyu, I felt that you have one song that is dominated by metalcore and supported by clean vocals, and then you have songs that are predominantly clean vocal, then was supported by a little bit of metalcore. And for me, that was a mish and mash, and that's what I can't understand. Is like if you are that similar taste, why you can then listen to a song that is predominantly metalcore, accentuated or punctuated by clean vocals, and how you can possibly. What makes you different from what you normally like as to why this album is very different, because there are songs in there where I couldn't listen to because it was way too much metalcore for me and I would end up skipping. So how can you listen to a track that is predominantly metalcore if that is not really typically your cup of tea?
I confess, ask me that question, I don't know the answer. I don't know how. For me, it all blends together to the point where when I'm listening to the album, when I'm listening to individual tracks, I am the sort of person who I don't sit down to listen to the album. I put the album on while I'm doing other things, and part of the reason I've got these earphones is because it's great for blocking out stuff like when I'm doing, trimming the garden, because I haven't done it for, it's good just for that sort of thing, or driving in the car. And if it's an album where I do a 2-hour drive, that album is half of the time, and it feels like, the time has just flown so quickly because I'm enjoying myself so much listening to it. It almost doesn't matter at that point that some of the songs are entirely metalcore or entirely growler, because I know that Brandon's going to come back and bring me back to a happy place. And I think it's just also it's one of those. It's kind of like Jacoby Shaddix with Papa Roach as well. Some of those songs are a lot heavier and you don't get a lot of his standout vocals. And in other songs, it's his vocal carrying the entire thing. And I think it is just sort of we've talked about it before. It's one of these. It's a balance, and it's a really fine balance. And I can see where you're coming from in terms of you've got that sort of you know where your happy spot sits for it. I think mine is a bit more varied in terms of how the rest of the album is put together. So yeah, I think there's stuff like I think Glass Eater is one of them, and Death Rattle maybe, where they are more heavy, the unclean vocals rather than Brandon. But I just think it's a case of I'm almost willing to sit through those to get to Brandon Saller, and I'm willing to listen to the entire album and the entire group because they're just that good that I think it's worth it.
Okay. No, very good answer. Very good answer. I accept that description. Brilliant. Okay, cool. Go on. Sorry, Lauren.
Oh, I was actually going to say, for some people it creates levels with an album. For others, it gives them whiplash.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good analogy. You should become a host of your podcast. Right, okay, let's find out then. Suffice to say, I don't think that this side of the stage is going to hit the dizzy heights of the top 20, but let's find out then. Laura, what did you give this?
I gave it a 3.
You did.
But I'm very excited to see what else is going on there.
No shock that Paul gave us a 1. No shock that me and Andy give it 2.5s, which for Andy was actually I am shocked that Andy gave this a 2.5 actually. Lauren, what did you give this?
I gave it a 3.
Oh, have I asked you that question already?
Yeah,
I did. I meant to say, what did Trish give it?
Trish gave it a 4.
Okay, and let's finish off on a high note then. Chris?
I gave this a 4.5
Why not a 5?
Hey.
Why not a 5?
because of the metalcore. I know what I'm saying about, you know, I'm happy to listen to it and I'm happy with all that we're going through, but it's not a perfect album because the metalcore. Brandon does a really good job of countering it, but not quite.
3.3. So nowhere near. I know, and it's very obvious. Sometimes when we do, we were shocked, weren't we? When I think when we did, I can't remember the album last month, but you guys thought that the other lot would rate it lower, and they actually rated it higher. So I think it's a no-brainer that they're going to rate this album a lot higher than Aslot did, and it's a shame that you're not on that stage. But there we go. That's life. Let's finish off. Yeah, go on.
No, I was going to say, I think if I was on that stage, I'd be a lot less happy with some of the other albums that we're listening to this month.
Actually, bizarrely not. This month was a bit... Yeah, this month was not a huge amount of metalcore on there, to be honest with you.
Fair enough.
But there was one particular album, but otherwise it was it was a bit of a mixture. Anyway, right, okay. Let's finish off with our 2-word review then. Lauren?
Cherry picked. I think that sums that up for me. Just
Chris?
Evocative vocals.
Evocative vocals. Where we go? If I had a tattoo of what I'm about to say on my hand, I'll lift up my fist. Love, hate. Would I be describing this one? What do you guys think out there for Atreyu? Leave your comments below. This is part 1 of our album of Atreyu. Part 2 will be coming up soon. But do leave your comments below and let us know what you think. In the meantime, keep rocking and keep safe.